Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I'm going to be demonstrating my game called Cosmic Challenger, and I made that over the summer of 2016. It was my main project for that summer, and it taught me lots of interesting games related things such as networking, which was the main one, and the reason I decided to make this because I really found it interesting, the idea of having two computers across the internet connecting and playing the game together. I really like multiplayer, so here we go. I'm talking over a video that I've done, just me trying out the game as a demonstration. So I might be stopping and starting this a little bit. So first we have the main menu. It says Cosmic Challenger, which is the name of the game, and we have the three main options that you can choose. So we can go to the multiplayer, which is the main part of the game, and I've also added in a practice mode, which took like a day and a half. It's just sort of a copy of the multiplayer, but all the networked parts taken out, and just allows you to play against some bots without connecting to the internet or anything like that. And then finally the help menu. So I'll show you that now. And you click on the buttons. These are all just very simple buttons. You click them, they go shaded. And once you release, you go to the next screen. So first, we have the first help screen. Space button just navigates forward through the screens. Escape returns to the previous screen. But here we go. So move your ship, and the red ship indicates your own one, and the greenish one, the greenish brownish sort of coloured one. Not sure what sort of colour I should call that, but yes, that's the sprites for your opponent, and the game always identifies who you are, who's the local player, and gives that the red ship, and the other ship is assigned to the other player. So that's just how you know who you are, basically. Spacebar to shoot, WASD to move, and you have to destroy your opponent 3 times to win. There's a green health bar which appears above each player, and when that reduces down, when the green health bar turns to red completely, they explode. In more technical terms, each player has 100 life, and a normal laser shot will deal 10 damage, and then upgrades and special weapons will deal more damage, but I'll move on to that later. Asteroids are what define the layout for the arena that you're playing in. It's split in space, but for some reason it's 2D. I just thought it felt nice and arcadey doing it that way. Also, I didn't want to make it too excessively complex, because the main focus of this project was just learning how to network things, and I didn't want to have to go into too much detail with animating 3D stuff. That's a bit lazy of me, I apologise, but the main project was just getting some networking going down, and I thought that was really fun. And I personally really enjoy 2D games, because they're just cool and arcade looking. Anyway. Yes, so the asteroids are the layout, define the layout. So there's a ring of asteroids, like a square box of asteroids, which defines the layout, and also there's asteroids between the confines of the box as well, which sort of add a few more obstacles to where you are. And the positioning of these inner asteroids periodically change, so it would be better just for you to see that, but just a little explanation. There's crates which appear periodically as well. Only one crate appears at the same time, otherwise the arena would get a bit cluttered with these crates. So I have a limit on the amount of crates that can appear. There's a timer which runs in the background on the server, and every so often it will, if there isn't a crate already, it will spawn one. If a ship touches the crate will disappear, and then you'll be presented with a new weapon. A more powerful weapon than the default lasers, which only deals 10 damage. If you shoot the crates, they'll just explode, and then another one will appear somewhere else randomly. So that's that screen, and I'll press space to continue. So on the next menu, this is an explanation of all the different weapons you can get. So we have 5 weapons to choose from. The default one, which only deals 10 damage, is a single target laser, and you can fire it as much as you like. The blue pickup here has a bigger sort of laser, a bit more chunky. It again deals it only hits a single target, but it deals 5 times more damage, so it does 50 damage, which is quite considerable. Then we have the bomb, which is the most powerful weapon. It's a yellow pickup. It hits for 30 damage, and it also has an area of effect for an additional 30 damage. So if you hit the target, it deals 30 plus 30 for the splash damage. But if you hit a nearby asteroid, it will deal 30 damage for the splash damage anyway, so it will do a lot of damage. But it can damage your own ship because you aren't immune to explosions, so you've got to be careful with that one. Similarly, the cluster bomb can hit your own ship because on impact it launches 3 yellow lasers out in 3 directions. So one returns in the opposite direction to it came, and then 2 come out at angles. And then finally, the most complex one, laser, which took a long time to program. I think that took several days, many hours, because the complexity in this one took me a while to get around. It took me a little while to get my head around, because the Seeker laser homes in on your opponent, but the server creates the laser object sort of without remembering who created it, sort of thing. So I had to add a little flag onto the object to identify who fired it and then who is best to track. And then there's all this stuff about the asynchronicity, so what's considered the local player on the server is different to what's considered the local player on the client. So I had to get my head around all that sort of stuff. So that took a few hours, and then I got that working at last, which was nice. It was a nice, rewarding feeling having the Seeker lasers work, because they seem really cool. They're cool to watch, and I'll show you that soon. So you get different amounts of ammo for each of these. So for rockets and bombs, you get only 1 shot, and then you get 2 shots of the cluster bomb, and you get 5 shots of the Seeker laser, because they only deal 10 damage each, actually. But yeah, we see. You often get all 5 on target as well, so Seeker laser is a really good thing to have, and I'll show you why. Now we'll move on to the next menu. So we have a practice mode, so that's what I hinted at before. That's the middle one. In the practice mode, you are against 3 drones, which just hover up and then hit the floor, hit the upper boundary of the arena that you're in, and then just sort of float there. They don't do much, and they just shoot straight ahead. So you can get behind them and shoot them, and they won't turn around and hit you. These are just practice drones to help you test the unit, to test the weapons. So cluster bombs is an important one to get your head around, because they're quite tricky to use, because you have to learn where how far away from things to shoot, so that the trajectory is right, so you hit things with the clusters. And it's nice to get an idea of how wide the area of effect of the bomb is, so that you don't end up hitting yourself. Unfortunately, because the Seeker lasers are programmed to track the opponent player and not drones, that you can't retest them here, but you can just get an idea of how big the lasers are and things. So now we're done with the explanation from the help menu. I'm going to jump into the practice mode and play against those drones. So I might have to pause this a bit and explain a few things. So before we do all that, I'll explain what you're looking at here. So we have our border, the rectangle of asteroids, which is the main perimeter of the arena you're in here, and we've got randomly scattered asteroids, and there's 3 different sorts of layouts that we can have, and they randomly switch between those. So there's a layout which is like a cross with 4 quadrants, and there's also a layout with 9 strips of asteroids, which are a little maze for you to fly around. And there's also this one, which is just a random arrangement. So you can see a couple overlap there. It's possible, and with all these, possible for lots of different things could happen on this random layout. A few times I've had it so that asteroids have appeared so that a player gets trapped in a corner for 10 seconds, 10 seconds being the period before the next switch. So you got to be alert there, and got to react to the change really well. It's really easy to get cornered, and sometimes on these sorts of switches. So That's really interesting. I like that. What else? So we've got the menu button in the top left. Clicking that just ends the game. Disconnects disconnects you from the game if you're in a multiplayer game, and gives your opponent a win. And it returns to that main menu with the 3 buttons. On the right, we have the current weapon that we have. Because it's set to the default laser, we have infinite ammo. But if we picked up a weapon pickup, then we'd have a number next to that indicating how many shots we had left. Then we have a picture of our sprite, of our player, and the number of lives they have left. So in the multiplayer game, the number of lives for our opponent would be to the right of that. There'd be an image of the ship that they use. And then to the left of the weapon sprite, the blue laser there, in that gap between that blue laser and the button, is all the matchmaking information. So if we're in a multiplayer game, there'd be the option to join a host or disconnect from the matchmaker, that sort of stuff. So I can continue now. So we've got the 3 drones firing aimlessly, and they just fly up, and they're not very that challenging to beat, really. But they do spawn right next to you and can shoot you in the back, which is a problem. Now I'm just going to try and intercept the lasers, so you can see there. The lasers can shoot each other. It's very difficult though, quite challenging. A bit easier when the opponent's stuck in one position and shooting at the same height. There we go, there we go. So that's interesting, and you can shoot a lot faster than the drones do, and you can overwhelm them and kill them like that. As I said before, you can see Seekers aren't really doing anything. I can show off those Seeker lasers when we have a multiplayer game. I'm going to demonstrate that in a bit. Here's the bomb. That will fire, deal an area effect damage here, and that kills off that player with 30 damage, enough to defeat one of those drones. There's the Seeker laser going, shooting off 3 lasers, 1 back where it came from the origin, and 2 off at angles. The angular ones are the most interesting. They're useful for shooting your opponent. And the returning laser shouldn't do you a problem as long as you get out of the way. Shouldn't cause any problems. So as you see, both the cluster laser and the bomb can deal damage to your ship, and you can see before I just shot myself and killed myself there. And that's the last one, the rockets, dealing 50 damage, doing most of the damage to that one and killing it off. When I took my own life there, my life score on the top right reduced from 3 to 2. And if you're paying attention, you can see the number next to the weapon was changing as I picked up lasers. Okay, and that's all I really need to show you there with the practice mode. Now I'll jump into a multiplayer game. So I'll keep the video running. I joined all these videos together. I had a separate video of me doing the practice and me doing the multiplayer. Okay, so now we're looking at the lobby. Well, the area of the moment before the lobby. So in the top left there's that menu button, and then there's the name of the game in the top right. That changes to the text, which gives all the information about the ammo, how many lives you have, how many lives your opponent has. So it's just sort of reusing of the same object. And in the middle there's that matchmaking information, so we can be the LAN host, we can be the LAN client. That was the button I was using when I was testing it on the same machine. We can open 2 standalones, the game that you run on Windows, and then have those connect to each other. So that's how I was doing that. But because I'm doing this over the internet, I will enable the matchmaker, and then we can click Create Internet Match. And you can give it a room name, but I just left it as default. And once we've created Internet Match, I'll pause the video there, we jump into the game, and you can see there's the sprites for the opponent this time, but there's no number next to it because the opponent hasn't actually joined yet. The hosting information has changed to the server ports. It gives you information about the clients, and there's the stop button which closes the game and ends the game there. So now on the other side, my opponent is joining, and we can hear. Oh, that's the that weird sound there was the sound for when the layout changes. By the way, if you were confused about that. But yes, there's just a bit of downtime while my opponent connects, and I'll show you how they connect. It's really simple how they connect over in a second after this demonstration. So here we go. Both players are in the game. My opponent was disorientated to begin with. I used that advantage to take some Seekers, but that was a bit unfair, so I wasted those. I might improve the lobby of this a bit more so that there's no period where there's like you're in the game on your own, because that's a bit of an unfair advantage. I could change that, that's fine. So you can see the players interacting, trying to do damage. They can both fire really fast this time. So it's very narrowly missing that bomb. That was actually a rocket, sorry. Here's the bomb. Try and use that area effect damage. There we go, a lot of damage. That's straight in the face, so that's 60 whole damage. Got another bomb here. Oh! Missing the splash damage that time. The asteroid's appearing in a very nice situation for me, preventing him from firing at me anymore. And here's the strips layout. I like this layout a lot. Ooh, cluster bomb hitting me there. And here's the lasers, the Seeker lasers, in their prime, so they can track the opponent. Taking advantage of the fact that we can only shoot left and right, the Seekers can move up and down as well. And the way you avoid that is just sort of run and get behind asteroids, because the Seekers don't sort of scoot around asteroids. So if you navigate through some asteroid fields, then you're going to be safe from the Seeker lasers. I think there, before I shot that bomb, their laser intercepted it and set it off too soon, and the splash damage killed me. Some interesting dynamics there. You can see in the top, at the top of the screen, I'm winning with 2 lives to 1. Again, I took damage from my own bomb because it detonated too early. Gotta be careful with that. There we go, 30 damage to him. Some Seekers there. Gotta be careful with the asteroids because they don't differentiate between players and asteroids. Well, they do. I mean, they don't scoot around asteroids, like I said. And yes, the Seeker lasers there finished him off. And you can see in the top right, it flashes victory. On their screen, it will say defeat. It'll flash like that. If a player disconnects, then it will flash up with victory, and your opponent disconnected, just to let you know that they disconnected. But this was just a normal victory, so it came up with just victory, and it flashed that. And next, there's only one thing to show you. I'll re-enter the multiplayer menu, and we will enable the matchmaker. And on my opponent, they've created the game this time. I'll just show you how it works. Find internet match, and then join match default, and that's what happens on their screen. And you'll enter into a game which has already been created by your opponent after a few seconds. There we go. There we go. And when we exit a game, all of the matchmakers, all the matchmaker stuff, all the networking is closed, so that you can restart and make a new game. So I hope you liked that. If I just go over all the stuff that I made. So I programmed all of this. I made all the script. I did all the interface here. Actually, the background was made by going on to Worldwide Telescope, I think Microsoft Telescope, and taking some screenshots to get some nice spacey images. I thought that was a really cool idea. I wrote out the text, all the text, but I downloaded a font. I think it's called Neuronium or something, but I'll include that in the description. All the sprites were from a copyright-free website, but I'm not going to sell any of this, so I shouldn't be infringing any laws anyway. And think that's about it. All the sound effects were downloaded from another, I think it was freesounds.com, so that was all fine. I actually synthesized one of the sound effects myself, the very obnoxious sound which occurs when you switch layouts, so it goes like that, bit of an alarm sort of thing. I wanted to make it sort of intrusive, so it was like, yeah, like I said, that kind of alarm. So I made that myself with a couple of oscillators. It was quite simple to make, and yeah, that's all I have to show you there. I hope you liked that.